Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health. I'm so glad that you are here today listening to this show. And, I'm so excited. I just can't, get so excited when I think about what I'm doing, interviewing guys that I know who've gone through some stuff and gone through struggles and positive things and great things in their life and got themselves to some level of good health in their life. And just hearing people's stories and how they did it and the unique perspective everyone has on their journey is so, it's something that really does something to me. I'm so intrigued by everybody's journey to good health. And I'm really excited to have on my show today a guy that I met quite a few years ago. His name is Dave Conway. Dave, I'm so glad that you took the time to be here today, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health.
Thanks, Dave. You got a great name.
Yeah.
Dave, you're a good guy. I knew it as soon as I heard your name. I knew you were a good guy.
Hey, so just a little bit about Dave. I met Dave at a program for high-level speakers. Or hold it. Let's see. Is that right? Did I meet you at the
Bill Gove.
The Bill Gove Speakers Workshop. And ever since I've been intrigued by what he's done, and Dave has been for years a student of spiritual and mental mindset, and so he's like a coach for that. And he's kind of been gotten under the wing of a guy named Bob Proctor. I think most everybody knows Bob Proctor, probably one of the greatest mindset coaches of our time. Just an amazing guy, nice guy that everybody should read his stuff. And I think Dave's passion, if you could kind of sum it up, is really helping people with their mindset. And his philosophy is you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And man, Dave, that is a powerful, powerful thought when you really take the layers back on that and get to the bottom. That's an incredible thing. So I always like to start a podcast off with this whole thing of just getting a little more personal with our speaker and our interviewee. And Dave, I'm just curious, what is getting Dave Conway out of bed in the morning? What is lighting your fire these days?
Well, it's a great question. I run it's kind of an intensive workshop. It's about 6 hours called the Goal Achiever. And in the Goal Achiever, I break down, the difference between a purpose, a vision, and a goal. And a lot of people, in my career, I've literally talked with and mentored thousands of people. There's a lot of disorder, you could say, in those areas. So I think every morning when I get out of bed, it's always my purpose that really pushes it. And my purpose in life is to just help people wake up to just how absolutely incredible they are, and the power that they possess already inside of themselves. So that definitely always gets me up. But I always have a goal in front of me too. So I like to create, and it's very important for growth to always have a goal that you're really stretching for. So the purpose, 100%, and then obviously the goal is always going to get my butt out of bed, no question.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really good. I think, just kind of reflecting on what you said, your purpose is waking people up to how incredible they are. I'm really excited. I hope you can tie that in with what we're going to be talking about today, because I think at the root of a lot of things, unhealth in our society is that, and people not recognizing that about themselves. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have to say. So, Dave, I'm a a kind of an amateur history guy, and when I think of men's health, my mind kind of wanders back through the generations, back to the Greek and Roman time, when these incredible artists, these sculptors, took this kind of like big chunk of marble and they started chipping away at it, and eventually they produced, I think in their mind, what was the ideal man and the ideal healthy man. So I'm just curious if Dave Conway could put up on one of those Greek or Roman pillars the perfectly healthy person. Describe that person. What would that person be like, act like, look like, feel like, all those things? Describe that person of ideal health.
Well, I would say that's a good question. I never really thought about it in that context. Yeah, so you put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like we got to have serenity. Without serenity, I don't think we have very much. And all the money in the world is not going to give it to you. But that doesn't mean that, money and striving and achievement isn't important. It's essential. It's extremely important. But above all, you got to have, serenity. And I think that for lots of us, it's a fine line because, in this world, everything's a paradox, like you get more by letting go, or, you know what I mean? Like, these sorts of things, like it's all a paradox. And so I think that the key is to have that serenity around whatever you're doing, and nothing's really worth you losing it. So I think for me, the ideal person would have serenity in all areas of their life.
Yeah.
So it would be in their world, but yet pushing it.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, that is a unique answer to that question. So you see this ideal guy up there being this person who is living in a state of serenity. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'll let you elaborate on this, but how is it that connect the dots for me. How is it that a person who is living in a place of serenity, maybe you should define serenity, but so like what is serenity and how does that create health in a person? Go deeper with that with me.
Yeah, so serenity is like it's a knowing. Mm-hmm. So it's a knowing that you are enough, but on the same hand, you got to get better. So a lot of people, when they start getting into goal setting and goal achievement, they'll start to go into certain extremes, and you can knock your serenity right out. So what I like to teach people is that they're already perfect. You're already perfect. You just have to begin to realize it. And the way that you realize it is actually through goals. Like, goals aren't meant to get. They're not designed to get. They're to grow. And you and I operate by the main law that everything operates, which is create or disintegrate. And if you're not growing, you're dying. So as soon as we start to understand that we are human beings, that we're in possession of a human mind, and then the question is, what does it mean to be in possession of a human mind? So everybody's going to know that they're in possession of a human mind, but what does it mean? So when I talk about serenity, it's like a knowing. It's a knowing that you'll always be taken care of. It's a knowing that everything you move towards must be moving towards you. But at the same time, it's not a settling, because then too many of us settle for and accept results that we really shouldn't be accepting or tolerating. It's a fine line.
Yeah. Man, it's like I'm so intrigued. I think we could spend a whole show just on that concept and the paradoxes of life and how how we weave through that and make sense of it and become a healthy person because of that. So that, man, good stuff. Thanks, Dave. So so now you put this person up there and you said that this person of health is a person of serenity. On the flip side, as you look around in your sphere of influence, in your area of life and your community or whatever, where you live, what is it that what is it that causes unhealth? If serenity causes health, causes unhealth.
Disorder causes unhealth.
Mm.
So most of us don't have order. A lot of people don't have much order. And a lot of us don't. I know personally for me, I didn't, and I'm sure you're probably going to start asking me questions about me here later too.
Yeah.
But it's disorder. So to get things in order, first you have to be moving towards something. And a lot of us, we're not like human beings. We're human doings. We're just doing things, and we don't ever really stop to think. A lot of us don't have very much time, especially if you're like a person that's an entrepreneur or you're a family man or whatever. I even think back, I say, man, what the hell did I do with all my time when I was like, didn't have kids? Like, what the hell was I doing? I accomplished it. If I went back, I'd be like, God, you were pathetic back then. It might just be wandering time. And I also think that the use of time, people don't value it. So if you ask me what I see around, that's a detriment to the health, is without question. Most people, they don't have goals. They're not operating with clearly defined goals. It's very rare. And then even if they did have one, they're not really pursuing it. And then that goes into a whole other world where they don't think they can and they lack confidence. And people are very opinionated too. People spend more time to protecting their own beliefs than actually analyzing them. Yeah.
Man, Dave, as you're talking there, my mind is going back to this whole idea of, you said your passion or your purpose was to help people wake up to how important they are. And so when you, how do you, I think that's so critical for us to find out, but what are some ways that people can actually find a way to that, to where they're all of a sudden saying that, not all of a sudden, but at some point they start to say to themselves, yeah, you know what, I am enough, and I can do the things that I need to do, and I can be a person of serenity. What are some, do you have some steps that people can think, or some questions that they can ask themselves, or some tips that you can give them to get to that place where they can get that really true optimistic view of who they really are?
Yeah, for all my clients, when they end up becoming clients, I teach them in the first 30 days. I teach a new habit to them every 30 days. And the first fundamental habit that I teach all clients that I coach and stuff is, the first habit is the habit of asking yourself questions. We assume too quickly. And it's like I said before too, too many times we're protecting beliefs instead of analyzing them. Now, if I reflect back on my own personal life, the only thing that's ever knocked me out of my stupor is pain. The only thing that's ever knocked me out of my ignorance is pain. So
I'm hearing you.
Unfortunately, that's generally when we make the shift. Now, we don't have to wait to make that shift. We can do it through self-analyzation. You can do it through asking yourself questions. Do I really want this? And I also find that the biggest problem with people is that their imaginations are very shackled. Even if I ask you, Dave, how long have you been thinking about this? And you and I have known each other now for over a couple of years. And it's how long have you been thinking about this? How long have you been behind this? And you'll find that your imagination's been running. It's probably been a few years that you've been really wanting to take the 4 pillars, to the world. I know personally, I mentioned 2 years ago and you wanted to, right? Yeah. But the problem is that most people's imaginations are very shackled, and it's all about duty. And if we continue to trade duty for our goals, duty will always win. You can't have goals when you have duty. Wow. Because you're going to have to perform the duty to your existing level of awareness. Wow. So the first thing is we need to unshackle our imaginations. That's the first step.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just I'm going through a book right now, and the chapter that I just read was on creative imagination, and it's all about spending time in introspection and thinking about who you are and where you're going, and then being able to think creatively about the things that you need to do in your life. So shackled imagination. You should
unshackle
your imagination. That's an incredible concept. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's turn. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what if? That's the first thing. What if? What if I could?
Yeah.
What if I could?
Yeah.
And your conscious, your paradigm, your habits are going to say you can't. But you just need to liberate the mind. You're not making decisions. You're not going into the how. Nothing like that. Just what if? What if I could? What if I could? And then you'll find the ideas will start to flow. And as they start to flow, they'll start to take power.
Wow, that's good. All right. So let's turn the corner here a little bit and get a little bit more personal with you. If you look back over your life, and I think for me, let me give you a little background here, but for this question. But for me, there's been times in my life where one day I was heading, as fast and as hard as I could in one direction. Something happened, like a person came along, or a circumstance came up, or a situation happened to me. It could have been positive or negative, but like the next day or shortly thereafter, I turn around and start going exactly the opposite way because of my mindset changed. And can you think back over your life when that kind of, you mentioned previously that a lot of times it happens with pain. So maybe there was a time of pain when something painful happened and you said, it's enough of that road, I'm going to head somewhere else. But look over your life and think, is there a time when something happened, a person came along or a situation came along where you radically changed who you are as a person?
Yeah, there's been 4.
Ah, wow.
4.
Okay.
4 in my adult life. So when I was 18 years old, my mom, she was like, hey, there's some guy talking to Travelodge Hotel. It's a hotel in the local city. And there's some guy talking, and I heard he's really good. We should go. And I was like, okay, I was 18, so I don't know what the heck. I don't know if I agreed or she pulled me by the ear. I don't really know what my attitude was like. But I did go, and it was a man named Bob Proctor, and he spoke for 2 hours. And I walked in one person, and I walked out someone totally different. It just rocked me. I'd never heard anyone talk like that before. I've never. Just the insight, the simplicity of the whole thing just really rocked me hard. And, but even then I still didn't fully grasp what he was saying, because I think I would accomplish much more in life if I really grasped it. And then I had another big shift about 3 years later where I had to make some decisions based on health decisions, and that stemmed out of pain. And then the third one was now this one's interesting because it didn't necessarily shift my results, but it shifted my understanding of what love is. And any parent is will harmonize with what I'm going to say. Yeah. But when my first daughter was born, there's love, and then there's love, So that was a big one. That shifted my world on what sacrifice really is and what it really means to love someone unconditionally, no strings, And then the fourth one in my life was when I was in 2017. So around 2015, I had built up a decent career in construction and in real estate. I wasn't a real estate agent, but I was building and acquiring rental properties, real estate portfolio. And around 2015, there was something off. I knew there was something bigger. It was like an energy. It wasn't necessarily connected to an idea, but it was more like a feeling. Like there was a feeling inside, something bigger for you, like some more higher service or something. And I didn't know what the heck it was. And I lived with it for 2.5 years, and it was very frustrating. And then in January 2017, an idea popped in my head. I said, I wonder if Bob Proctor still does this thing. And now at that time, I'd been like a closet personal development junkie or whatever. I didn't share very much with people, and I didn't teach anybody anything at all. And so I went down to Los Angeles. Me and my wife went down, and it was the most painful weekend of my entire life.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, 2.5 days. Like I was what I'd call top heavy. I had a lot of good information in my I knew stuff, I knew knowledge, I knew better, but my results reflected of a person that didn't know very much. And it was really painful. It was very painful experience. And I was an angry guy at that time too. I had the anger. Like I remember they were doing this gratitude section, and I got like 4 things down on the paper, and those were just wrote intellectually. I was like a block of ice. Yeah, I was.
Really?
I was.
Really?
No.
Transformation happened. So how did you come out of that? Did you come out a different person, or did it take time after that?
No, I came out a different person. Obviously, that's the starting point of the whole thing. But I had an emotional impact. That's what I called them. Like, we'll shift 2 ways. One is through an emotional impact, usually that they're negative. It could be the loss of someone, or, something crazy happens and knocks you out, and they're usually negative, right? If handled, they'll be your biggest gift. If handled the right way, they'll be your biggest gift. But a lot of people don't get up from underneath of them. That's the unfortunate part. And they distort their perception. But the second way is a repetition of thought. So when I came home that weekend, like my brother said, like I looked like a drugged out raccoon. He said it looked like I took a knife and stuck it in the vegetable socket. Like I was really and that started it. And then I started then that desire was actually in there since I was 18. I always had a desire to work with Bob Proctor, but I didn't know that I could. So obviously I didn't really understand truly what he was saying. And then within 1 year, I was the number 2 consultant in the world for him.
Wow, Dave, that's amazing. That's incredible. I would like to spend another hour with you just hearing more about that part of your life. That sounds incredible. That's amazing.
It's been an amazing ride, and if you get the right information, the right direction, even my wife said to me a couple of weeks ago, she says, I can't even believe how we used to live 10 weeks ago. A lot of us we're living in slow-mo. We're really, really not throwing gasoline on the fire.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. And you know what? Another thing that just popped into my head was when you're talking about that is this impact that Bob Proctor had on your life. But the truth is, me and you and people listening to this, we can have impacts like that on the people around us.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you're doing right now and years down the road, people are going to think, that Dave Conway said this that day, and it just altered my life. So that's something we can learn from this, is that the impact that we have on other people around us, it's amazing.
Yeah, like you always know what you're giving up, but you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's good.
And I look back at my life, and I think, when did this all start? And it was no question my mother shifted it.
Yeah.
I remember the exact moment. I remember when she made a shift herself. Once she shifted, some of it took years, okay, some of it decades. Sure. But the energy has to flow. It has to flow. It has to start with someone.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. All right. Okay, so Dave, I just anointed you king of the world. I put a crown on your head, and I gave you a magic wand. And as you look around at the situation in our society, and you see the things that are going on in the arena of health in people's lives, and you have this wand, and you can change 1 or 2 or 3 things in our world and in our society, what is it that you're going to change that will have the biggest impact on people's health?
The media.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Huh.
Suggestion is the most powerful force in the universe.
Wow.
Suggestion will make you sick. Stress will make you sick. People listen to this podcast will know that. Fear will make you sick. Fear is the number 1 killer of all ideas, all dreams and hopes. They die. The fear.
Yeah.
If I had the power, if you dubbed me the king of the world or whatever, First thing I would change. Yeah.
We'll keep this away from all. We'll keep this away from all the media people. So
it'd be the media.
Maybe we could start a revolution in media where it focuses on channeling that energy in a positive way instead of a negative way. Maybe we can start our own media network.
Yeah. I don't necessarily like to talk about too much, but once you find out what a person fears, you can control them.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's if you ask me if I had a wand, and that's the first thing I would change. Messages, the suggestions are going into people.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Sounds good. Hey, so we're out of time, man. This goes so quick. Why don't we wrap it up this way? Why don't you tell us, and I'm just going to throw the ball to you, and why don't you, if you want people to get in contact with you, go to your website, for social media, whatever, do that, and I'll put that in the show notes. But just wrap this up after that with some concluding thoughts on your, what we've been talking about, just men's health, and what does a guy have to do to become more healthy, according to Dave Conway?
The first step is that you want it.
Yeah.
I remember one time when Bob said to me, because the stuff we teach it's just extremely powerful and it'll change. I say my programs work for everyone. No, my programs aren't for everyone, but they will work for anyone. And the first step you got to take is, do you want it? So am I willing and am I able? Do I want it? And he said to me, Dave, go where people want it, not where they need it, because everybody needs it. So first step is, do I want it? Do I want to make a shift? Do I actually want to explore this part of myself? Do I want to become healthy in multiple areas of my life? And if the answer to that is yes, then make a committed decision to start to pursue it.
Huh. Cool.
And you'll attract it.
Yeah. That's really good. All right. Okay, so how do people get a hold of you? How do people get in touch with you with this transformational message you have?
So two simple ways is you can go to www.conway.consulting, so no .com. I always make the joke they're running out of .coms. So www.conway, www.conway.consulting. And you can also, there's a lot of amazing content in our Dave Conway, so Conway, so Dave Conway Live, Live, on Facebook. So the Dave Conway Live group got a lot of great free content, workshops, all kinds of wonderful stuff in there, and a wonderful community.
You've been listening to The 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the4pillarsofmenshealth.com.